Good stuff. Well, guys, welcome. And I guess, as somebody put it, I guess this is the pre-camp media day, right? Is that kind of how we're looking at this? But gives us an opportunity to visit about, some things that have occurred obviously over the off season. Moving forward to get ready for our guys to get out there and get after it. I know they're like all teams right now. Everybody's kind of biting a little bit at the bits right now to kind of get going. The excitement, as I've always said, let's see how excited we are on practice 9. Make sure we have that same enthusiasm. And I'm excited the way these guys have attacked the whole off season, the summer, from the standpoint of there's no reason to be satisfied with the little success that we had. And I think they're able to take a look back and reflect on how close we were in a lot of those situations to having a much more or a much better win record on the top end. And yet we learned a lot about what it takes to begin this climb. It's interesting over the summer, when you kind of look at the foothills, which are beautiful, and yet we kind of climbed those foothills. And then all of a sudden, the clouds lift and you see Long's Peak. Well, that's another heck of a climb now. And our guys have got to understand, and us as a program, that all we've done is kind of made it up the horse trail. And now we've got to be able to take that next step and climb that second mountain. And that's what we're excited about doing. From an injury standpoint, which I know you guys always kind of get excited about, I think all our off-season guys are doing well. There'll be some alteration to some of them still. Steve-O had both shoulders worked on, had one done, which is totally good. The other one, so we might have to modify his practice a little bit moving forward. Kivon is doing good with his foot. We're going to have to modify that so we don't, keep the pounding on it. Who else did I see on here? Jordan Finley, obviously, he's still in rehab on his knee, but so we'll, work that as we go. But other than that, guys, we're in really good shape moving forward. I think last year we had a couple guys in the same boat. I think Max Morgan was the one that we had to hold a lot of the first part of the practice, but really we should be at full strength. So, with that, it's an exciting time of year. It's a fun time of year.
D-Hart has said he's on his way here. What can you say about his situation? Will he be here?
I cannot comment per NCAA rules on anybody until they're admitted and have paid their deposit. Doesn't matter who it is. And so, yeah, last thing I need to do is get myself in hot water tear. So, you know what I'm saying? And so there's I can't comment anything on that. But hey, I tell you what, I'm glad you got the elephant out of the room real quick.
Of the incoming class that you had signed, how many of them are actually coming, and
that's
how many
great.
did you lose?
So, we had a sign in place on 2 guys, Sylvester Hayes and Jayaz Jones, who were in junior college. And what I guess to explain what that means is, they're now at junior college. They were signed, and we kind of help them, find that place, and then we'll worry about that on the back end of it. But everybody else, is in. So
they're not playing here. They're playing at junior college this coming season.
yeah, they'll be at a JC. Yeah.
And then you had a couple preferred walk-ons. So I was just kind of curious when I checked on like Ryan Coolin.
He's here. Yeah, Ryan's here. He came at around the 4th of July time for the second semester.
And then you had the kid out of Regis, the running back.
Jalen,
Yeah.
he chose to, maybe college wasn't for him after that first week, so, he's.
Came and left.
Yeah, that's right. So, and that happens, but, everybody else is here and ready to go.
Did the slight modifications of what you could do over the summer as a team modify anything about fall camp?
It was interesting, the interpretation on that, I think, was interpreted by school to school very different. And I think there'll be some better tightening of that as far as the overall deal. But, for us, it was summer as normal. They did their voiceover tapes, before they went out and kind of ran through a practice by themselves and those type of things. The coaches were able, obviously, to go be in those sessions for us, but we didn't work with them on the field or anything like that. And yet, part of that I kind of like is it helps your team kind of develop its leadership as to who's really running those, those workouts out on the field, and so we got some great feedback from our strength guys.
Is there any indication or concern in your mind that schools that interpret it very liberally gain an upper hand?
That'll be yet to be determined, but it'd be interesting when kind of everybody had. And I think different conferences might have had different interpretations as well. Time will tell on that one. I think anytime there's an implementation, any new kind of thing, it's one of those deals where I'm not sure anybody knows until we get through the season.
Coach, Blackhawk, UNLV doesn't allow us guys to be on social media. It doesn't seem like you have that type of pulse. You guys are very active on it. What do you feel like the benefits or
The social media part?
Social media part.
Well, it's interesting. I think part of the whole deal is the education of what. Today, guys, that's how everybody, or not everybody, but that's how they communicate, the vast majority of them. And, what you do hope is that they learn through our education program. Captain Kirk does a great job. We bring people in, to talk to our team on the use of social media, and what has happened to some people, for putting stuff out that maybe they would like to take back, right? So it's really about the education part, and I think our guys, for the most part, do a pretty good job, and I mean that's how they communicate. So it's hard for me to say you can't, right? So.
Do you feel like it helps them create a bond kind of with some of those fans who they're able to interact with one way or another?
Yeah. That's a great question because I don't really know how it works.
Are you not really?
No, I know it. To me, it's a great platform to tell your story and keep people engaged. I think it's outstanding, and let's just keep using it the right way, right?
Did you come out of the summer after spring ball with more position changes, guys switching sides of the ball?
No, pretty much where we were, in the spring.
Okay.
We're going to keep those guys, in those spots. I think probably the biggest one was J.O. over the running back, and I thought he had a really good camp, and gives us really a physical runner. I was excited about that. And then, in your case, blinking, light was blinking on us, but Johnny's going to play H, which is kind of one of those spots. He's versatile. You kind of look at him a little bit like a Kivon when he came in. About the same body size. What I'm getting at. So.
Looking at on paper, one of the obvious strengths of your team is linebackers. From
Yeah.
your perspective, what do you have to get from them and Max Morgan in particular?
Yeah, I tell you what, and Max is one of those guys, boy, is he a student of the game too? You know, he's a guy that helps get everybody lined up as well as doing his job and taking that to the next step. You know, he really has become a very good tackler. You know, sometimes there early he, you know, wasn't running his feet and those type of things, but he's a guy that really, and really a lot of those linebackers, there's a deal that you really want to have guys perfect their craft and take pride in their play. And, you know, Max is one of those guys that obviously I expect huge things out of, not only just as a player, but all the other things that he does to help us be successful on the defensive side of the ball.
But how about as a group?
As a group now, guys, I feel really good about our linebacking core. And we've got, and I think where you may see that is not only in linebacker play, but now in special teams. A lot of those guys, you know, are going to play a lot of downs in special teams as well. So when you've got that depth and those body types, I think it'll really help in both areas moving forward. And we're going to be able to keep them fresh. We've got some active speed there that we're going to, you know, guys as far as handling the, you know, the quarterbacks that are, you know, those dual threat guys, you know, as far as hopefully being able to contain the explosive play a little bit, because they're going to be able to, you know, make close on the ball and hopefully not give up a bunch of those big hitters. Because, you know, if there's one thing we need to do is get better against explosive plays. I mean, that was our Achilles heel all last year defensively.
What do you see as just the main things you need to accomplish between now and that first week when you get into game prep for the CU game in this true fall camp?
You know, I think kind of discovering offensively, discovering our explosive playmakers and who they're going to be. Because obviously, you know, guys losing Capri, and, you know, I was able to see him. He fits, by the way. I mean, you know, I saw him yesterday at Bronco camp, and, you know, it was great to see, you know, and you kind of look out there and you say, you know what, that guy belongs, you know, and I think he's doing a great job there. But, you know, how do you replace 1,700 yards and 31 touchdowns, right? Well, you do it by other positions, you know, that we need to, at the wideout spot, we need to get some more explosive plays. You know, some of those make you miss and finish, you know, those type of things. So I think that's probably number one on offense. On defense, we've got to do a much better job against the explosive play, which goes back to communication, eyes, everybody on the same page, as well as the competing against those plays. You know, a lot of it looks at the secondary, but you look at it, we've got to be able to affect the passer, you know, in a lot of those big plays. And, I mean, there were times those guys were able to sit back there and, you know, have lunch, dinner, and, you know, maybe a snack by the time they got the ball off. So we've got to do a little better as far as the pressure part.
Is a lot of that development of your players, or is some of it adjusting your schemes to fit the personnel you have? Maybe
fit
getting
the personnel.
a better feel for what this team can do well and how you can combat those things.
I think every year there's that evolution. You can't be stuck on what you did because you did it with a different group of guys. So, you know, we experiment a lot in the spring with some new things offensively and defensively. And, you know, I'll be excited to see how that goes as we get into that, you know, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th practice to kind of, by then you kind of hopefully have determined maybe who those players are and what do we need to do to help them be successful.
Last season you talked about being pleased with having, being able to compete equally in the pass game and the run game, and obviously your dynamic is going to change a little, but do you think that is a reachable goal, or are you going to have to depend more heavily on Garrett?
You know, I look at it as, you know, to have a, whatever, 3,600-yard passer and a 1,700-yard rusher, I think it, you know, I think it showed pretty good balance, you know, and yet finding, you know, where that is going to be, I think we'll probably be a little more top-heavy throwing it a little bit. And it's because, I think, going back to Kelly's thought, you know, it's because that's who we have right now. But, you know, by no means have we turned into Mouse Davis and we're going to run and shoot or anything. You know, that's just not going to happen. because I still believe to have a successful football program, you've got to be able to stop the run, and you've got to be able to run to win. And, you know, those are the things I think are going to be our trademarks moving forward.
In order to be that more pass heavy, you have to give Garrett time. How much are you expecting from Ty to kind of lead some rhythm?
Oh, yeah.
This younger group.
Tell you, I've seen these guys come together and bond, and Ty's been a huge part of that, obviously. You know, to see those guys come together in the spring, I think that was a, I don't know whether I'd say it was a surprise as much as you know, kind of a relief to see how they've really done that and come together as a group. And he's got to be, you know, he's got to be one of those guys that we can put on an island, you know, and say, here, handle your job. We might have to slide away from him a little bit more, you know, some things like that. And yet he deserves and can do that. So that's going to be huge for us.
That's a spot where you've brought in a whole lot of guys to compete with those guys there. How excited are you to just kind of see that competition and maybe what that'll bring out of these guys that are coming back?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting too. Is there's this thing, you know, in football, you kind of get comfortable. Well, the guy knows what to do, so you're hesitant, you know, as a position coach sometimes to maybe get the other guy in there because the unknown, right? But I think our overall athletic ability and talent, you know, there again, you don't replace Weston Richburg. I mean, the guy started 49 games and was a second-round draft pick. But what can we do better around that position until that position grows? You know, that's the key. It's the position around those guys that need to elevate.
How key is this fall camp for your young receivers, and still including Richard?
Yeah, Richard, yeah.
But you said you were really happy with 3 guys that you redshirted last year.
Yeah.
But if your strength is Garrett, how key is the fall camp for their development to make sure that he's got weapons?
You know, I think number one, them getting used to each other, you know, and the nuances of where a guy's going to be, you know, especially in the scrambles and that kind of stuff. But really, it's just that confidence that has to be built, you know, between those new guys and Garrett. And I know they've thrown a ton over the summer. You know, as you guys know, I'm really kind of excited about our receiver group. I really think we have some explosive playmakers. We've got some size. You know, I'm okay when they walk off the bus. They look pretty good, you know.
And can you use Joe, Lovett, even Gaines, just in the slot, or do you consider them somebody that you can slide outside?
Oh yeah, they'll play all those multiple positions, you know, and they won't necessarily always be that slot guy. There's times they'll be singled up on the backside or on the outside of a 2-by-2 formation. And there could be times, obviously, they're both on the field at the same time, so obviously somebody's inside, somebody's outside.
This is your 3rd season now. Is this still a program in transition?
Is that in dog years, or is that?
It's just human.
21 years.
Is that what it is?
Your dog thinks it's been 21.
That's right. That's right.
I want to see you, I forget.
I got you.
Is this still a program in transition, or is it your program?
You know, I think we're always evolving. I think the one thing, you know, you feel more comfortable because of the expectations that the whole organization has moving forward. You know, everybody kind of knows the direction we're headed and you know, those type of things, which are good. You know, we still have a long ways to go, but I do believe our stamp has been put on it, and our players have put that stamp on it, and taken the accountability for their actions and, you know, how they go about their business. So with that being said, you know, yeah, I think we're probably headed that way.
You come into this season with expectations being placed upon you from the outside. I think universally most people think this program's going to the bowl game. That's great. What are your expectations? What are the interior expectations of this team coming off last season?
You know, I think it goes back to that climb analogy. In other words, not being satisfied with just, okay, we won a bowl game, great. Now what? You know what I'm getting at? And there's 2 things. I mean, one, you you kind of go through life hoping you become relevant. And you know what? I think our guys have become relevant, in this conference. I think now they at least know who we are and what our colors are, and that's good. And yet, how we handle those expectations, it really is what you do on a daily basis. And as you know, I don't put numbers on it. I mean, I want us to go out and play the game the way it's supposed to be played, try to win every play, and then find out what score is at the end. And that starts in what you do in RAMU, in spring ball, in off-season, or in summer, and now in two-a-days. So the focus has got to be on each and every one of us getting better every day, and that's what we're looking to do.
And how much of the way this season plays out will kind of lean back to what you guys have been able to do in recruiting. You obviously suffer some losses, every team does at the end of the year, but it's how you fill in those gaps. Can you keep this on the climb? How do you feel about where you sit depth-wise and the new guys, the next man up?
I like this team. I like the guys on this team. I like the leadership on this team. And, from an expectation standpoint, we carry ourselves in how we work. Those are the expectations, and they're living up to those. And, I really genuinely like these guys. I mean, they're fun to be around. And they know when to turn it on, and they know what it takes now. And guys, I guess it isn't as much prodding from us as coaches as it is internal. And that's when you get to have a team, is when, they can pick each other up and they can affect each other positively. Because not every day does everybody have a great hair day, right? I mean, you wake up in the morning and, you say, geez, this is miserable. But you know what? Are you going to bring somebody down, or somebody going to help you lift up? And that's what I like about our guys.
Jim, what do you think are the biggest things that you believe will keep this program moving forward, given that you lost a record-breaking running back, a conference defensive player of the year, and 2 top 3 NFL draft picks? I mean, that's a lot to fix on a team that's trying to rebuild and move forward. What are the things you see, the foundations that you can move forward from?
I think the biggest thing is our guys know how now. It isn't, and they understand the why. I think that's really important. And, it should get into that rhythm now where next guy up, okay, it's my turn, let's go, right? There's no reason for us to look back and say, you know what, we lost some great players and some guys that gave a ton to this program now, and that'll never go unnoticed. But with that part of it, like I said, I like these guys.
You talked a lot about Garrett Grayson. You've been asked to talk a lot about Garrett Grayson, but how much confidence do you have in him, and how is it different for him this
You want to
year
talk about
at
Nick?
this point?
You want to talk about Nick Stevens? I'm about ready for that one, but no. Garrett, and I think that a lot kind of has been said about his Manning Academy, and I've been fortunate. I've had quarterbacks in the past that I've coached that have gone and come back better because of that experience, and his understanding and eye-opening of hearing a couple of the greatest that play the game, and how they prepare and perfect their craft. I think the mental part of the game is what he really brought from there, and that's what's so exciting about him getting that opportunity. We'll see how far it takes him. I mean, he's still got to throw it to our colored jersey and not the other team, and it's a pretty simple concept, and I tell him that every day. That's my coaching point. What colored jersey are we wearing? Throw it to that one.
Last year you had Alabama on the schedule. We were sitting here a year ago saying, geez, can you get through that game? You actually used it as you had some bumps after that.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be almost
I really think it was a springboard.
Right.
Yeah, I do, and I think it answered a lot of our players' own maybe self-doubts of their self-worth, You know, I think they came away from there, yeah, they were upset that we lost, which I was excited about. That's a good thing. And yet I think they were able to say, you know what, yes, I can. And, you know, there was a lot of good from it. You know, we need to get off to a fast start as a program. We've finished fairly well the 2 years I've been here, which you like to see as a coach. You know, I think we're getting better. I think we were playing our best ball at the end of the year. But, you know, we've got to come out of the chutes firing here. And, you know, we've got a heavy first part of our schedule. You know how we break things down by quarters, kind of. You know, our first quarter on the schedule is pretty meaty.
Well, when you look at your first 2 games, you have obviously the Colorado game, which you like to open up with, but to get to the top of Long's Peak, you've got that team at Boise State you got to travel to. Is it nice to keep this team's attention with those 2 games, what they're facing coming right out of camp?
Yeah, you know, I think there's a lot to be said for that. And, you know, I think they understand the sense of urgency, which, you know, I think as a coach is great because it really helps them in the off season to know, look, we can't mess around here. We gotta get going. And you know, a guy down there at Media Days, I was on one of those radios, you know, in Idaho, and they said whatever on our side of the ledger. Now, granted, no one's been in the league forever, but it's been like 17 years before anybody on the mountainside has beaten Boise. Wow, how about that? I mean, I looked that up. I mean, they told me that. I took it for yes. I mean, and granted, we didn't play every year. You know how that works, but wow, that's a pretty startling kind of statistic when you think about it. And you know, I reminded them that, you know, the Idaho Vandals beat them 12 years in a row back when we were in the Big Sky Conference. So I get it, you know. But now I think that our conference, you know, and well-deserved by Boise because of what they've done as an organization and a program moving forward, you know, what they've done with facilities to help recruiting, you know, all of those things. You know what? It goes through them. And it's, you know, I mean, that's just fact. I mean, they deserve it.
Coach, this year the NCAA passed a new rule that allows schools to offer more food to its student athletes.
Now, did I hear you were at University of Montana?
I am at the University of Montana.
That's my hometown. You know that?
I do know that.
I love it. That's good stuff.
I love it too. 2.5 more weeks until I get to go back.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll talk after this. Make sure you're at the right haunts. Okay, but anyway, go ahead.
Do you know if the new NCAA food that allows schools to offer student athletes more food options, is that going to affect your program at all?
Yeah, in a good way. You know, we're going to be able to get these guys, you know, some extra meals. We're going to be able to get them eat. And part of it, what happens to you is because, like, especially in season, they've got to hustle over to be able to try to get something to eat at, you know, at the chow hall, where now we're going to be able to at least make sure they're getting a snack before they get to study hall or those type of things. It's kind of that, almost the convenience part of it, you know, where they're able to, you know, they're burning a ton of calories now, and to be able to get them a little bit extra is going to be huge. And, you know, we need to prepare for that from a budget standpoint, obviously, where we need to maybe take some things out of, you know, some other areas so we're able to get our kids the things they need to be successful.
So do you know if that's going to start this season?
Yeah, they'll definitely see a change in it. You know, I don't think we've done what the Pac-12 has done, which, if I'm correct, they just called every meal optional meal or something. They had some word for it. I don't know, but at the same time, you know, there again, there's going to be a lot of changes. I mean, this is just one of those little ones coming down the pipe that I think's good, you know. And we already, our guys, you know, non-perishable stuff, you know, and some things that they can get you know, when they're in morning lift, you know, where they can get some, you know, some snacks, some bagels and peanut butter and, you know, whatever, fruits, you know, those are all things that are available for our guys, you know, anyway, so.
Do you know logistically how you're gonna handle it yet, or is that still to be determined?
Well, you know,
I mean, is there gonna be like a place, I know some schools are setting up a 24/7 snack room where these guys can go at any time of day or anything like that?
yeah, I think we're just gonna turn this room into 7-Eleven. But, no, there's been a lot of things in our administration doing a great job of working, where can that centrally be, you know, for all sports? 'Cause it isn't just football, you know, it's everybody. And, you know, where can we kind of have that cantina, you know, for whatever? And there's some options within this building, you know, that they're looking at to be able to do that's more accessible. Right now, we do all our stuff out of our weight room, you know, where they have a kind of not a snack bar, but, you know, where they're able to get their stuff down there. It's not the best, or, you know, someplace you can sit down and, you know, but it's pretty good. Okay?
Anything else, Coach McElwain?
All right, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. We'll see you on Monday. Monday?
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit, there's a lot of expectations for this program nationally. A lot of people are predicting you guys will go back to the bowl game. So expectations are high for you guys. What are they like internally for you? Where do those outside expectations match up to what you guys expect yourself?
You know, the outside expectation, they really don't, you know, match up to what we want, because, you know, our slogan this year is the climb. We're not looking at the end result. We're looking at the process. We're looking at every day, day to day. It's a climb. It's a constant grind. Once we reach one peak, we're going to the next one. So I really don't even know about what the nation expects of us. I just know about the guys in the locker room. We're ready for whatever challenge. Anybody, you know, you put in front of us, we're hungry. We're hungry, and we just want to keep grinding, keep working, and climbing.
How much does it help that your season opens with Colorado, an in-state rival, and then Boise, the peak that you want to climb?
Yeah, you know, the meat of the Mountain West is, you know, Boise. You got to beat Boise to get to the Mountain West, is how, you know, his history has shown. But, you know, having those two games at the beginning of the season really helps us in our off-season training, because we know we have to be good, and we have to be good early to compete for the conference. So in our off-season training and everything, everybody knows we're on the same mentality, as that we have to be good early.
Could you tell that right off the bat when you guys started working out in the summer?
Definitely.
That there was an urgency, as Jim called it?
Oh yeah, definitely. The urgency, it's unreal, and you know, with Coach Kent and our whole strength staff, you know, they really embrace that and keep pushing us. So.
Kivon, I ask Coach this, but as players, what are the things that make you believe you're going to be better this year than you were last year, than you were the year before, given that you lost a record-breaking running back, 2 top 3 NFL draft picks, top 3 round NFL draft picks, and then conference's defensive player of the year? That's a lot to replace.
Oh yeah, definitely. But you know, our coaching staff is great. You know, they're gonna do a great job of preparing us to be in the right positions and everything. And just working with Coach Ken in the off season, our strength numbers are through the roof. And you know, there's guys that couldn't shine because they played behind those, you know, those big time players, and now, you know, they're hungry for the spot. And just our competitive edge on the team is unreal. We're the most competitive team since I've been here my 4 years. Like this team is very competitive, and we're just up for any challenge. And we're not worried about we're really not worried about anything but going out and playing hard. And just every day we come to work. Everybody comes to work. We got guys excited to stay after practice, after OTA, to throw, to catch, to hit, to do everything. So, you know, this team is just, we're hungry. We're really hungry this year.
How much does your role change this year with Crockett gone to the NFL?
You know, it'll be a week-to-week change, depending on the game plan, depending on everything. You know, I was predominantly H last year. You know, this year I'll be playing a little more Y, but our tight end room is stacked again. You know, we got guys. We brought Nolan Falk over. We got Stephen Walker. We got guys that are going to step up and play big for us. And with Coach Valero, you know, coaching us, he'll make sure everybody's ready to play, so there won't be a letdown in tight end position.
Playing with Garrett Grayson, what do you expect out of him, and how can he help you be a better player this year?
You know, Garrett, the one thing I really like about Garrett is his calmness on the field. It doesn't matter if we're up 50 points or if we're down 100. You know, he's going to be the same Garrett. He's going to come. He's an even kill kind of guy. And you know, he leads by example with his work ethic. You know, in the weight room every day, he's busting it. He's one of the guys staying after, pulling younger receivers to stay after every day. You know, throwing the ball to him, and his competitive edge and mentally, you know, he knows everything. He knows everything that's going on. So it's just as a tight end, as another player, you don't have to worry about anything because you know Garrett's got it and he's on the same page as everybody else. So
On the other side of that, what kind of improvement have you seen from Nick Stevens? Should something happen to Garrett and all of a sudden Nick's got to step in?
You know,
How ready is he?
Yeah, I was actually talking to a few other quarterbacks, and he's the only guy that they've seen in their whole time here that stepped in as a freshman last fall camp and knew everything, and he kept up with everybody. So from a mental standpoint, he knows everything. He can get under center. He can call all the blitzes. He can call everything out. And from a physical standpoint, he's getting bigger. You know, working with Coach Ken and everything, he's getting bigger and stronger, and his confidence is through the roof. And he's really throwing the ball good this summer.
How impressed have you been in the offseason with the young receivers? I think there's a lot of pressure on them. Jim's talked highly of them. Have you been impressed with their progress, including Rashard?
Oh yeah, definitely. And you know, that's a group that they're hard workers, and especially Rashard. He's a very hard worker. You know, he wants big things, and I feel like he's gonna go get them. And you know, we got younger guys like X coming up that haven't played that are really looking forward to playing. You know, Garrett, they're really enjoying throwing to those guys. But the receivers, they're gonna make some big plays. And as far as the pressure, I feel like we have enough weapons on offense that really nobody has too much pressure on them. You know what I mean? As a unit, we can do some good things. But yeah, the receivers, they're a really hard working group, and they're young and they're hungry. So.
But you kind of hope that they're really good right out of the gate because that'll take people's attention off you maybe a little bit more, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, yeah, you know, it's whether they're really good out the gate or whether they're not. I'm sure they will be really good out the gate. But just as a whole, it's not about me. It's not about my group being good. It's not about their group being good. It's about the offense as a whole, the defense as a whole. So it's about the whole team being good.
After winning a bowl last year and kind of realizing your guys' potential, do you feel like the sense of urgency is coming more from you as players versus the coaches kind of bearing down on you? You guys are taking leadership and you guys are stepping up to push each other?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's coming from us because, we realized that last year's team was last year's team. They got to a bowl game because of the work that they put in. And I felt like as a whole team, we want to put in our own work to, make our own bowl game and everything. So we're really not focusing on last year, how last year's team was. So it's about, the players in this locker room saying, hey, what's in the past is in the past. We got our bowl rings. They're really nice. But, we got to set those away. That was last year's team. We got to put in the work to prove what team we're going to be this year.
This year, the NCAA passed a new rule that allows schools to offer their student athletes more food options. Do you know if that's going to affect your team, if you guys are getting more snacks in between stuff?
Well, yeah, in our locker room, I've noticed this summer we've had snacks there every morning. So before lifting, we've had bagels, we've had fruit and different things there. So yeah, I mean in the past, or it has been affecting us because guys are having snacks there all day. But I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But I mean, I'm sure that they'll take care of us.
So in the past, there wouldn't be like bagels or stuff like that. That's something new this summer?
Yeah. Well, we had bagels like periodically, when we could have them. But I mean, this summer they've been there constantly. So.
Any danger eating too much?
No, not at all.
Anything else, Kivon?
You good?
Ask Jim a little bit about it too, and Kivon. Outside expectations for your program, or this is one that should go to a bowl game again this year. How does that meet with internal expectations? What you guys expect out of this program, this team this year?
Well, I think something that happened in the years where we went 3-9 and we had a couple of those years back to back, some of the outside perception became that wasn't our goal, but it always has been, and that's always been my expectation as long as I've been here. So inside, amongst my teammates, I don't feel like that's changed at all. Because our goal is always to be the best team that we can be, and we always expect to go to a bowl game.
But can you see that process being a little bit different now that you have reached some success, the way last season ended?
So you mean now that we know how to?
Yeah, you really feel it more so in this program that it's not just something you're seeking, it's a reality, something you can achieve.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, everybody know it's attainable, for sure.
Since you played
I'm lucky enough to have almost, I mean, we're losing Shaq Barrett, which is a big deal, obviously. The Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year, which isn't going to be easy to replace. But I've been here, this is me and Aaron's 4th fall together. And our first year we were 2s together. So we've been playing together for a really long time, and Corey's been there. And even though we have 3 new starters in the defensive line, they're all guys that have a lot of experience and that rotated a lot. So I'm actually really confident going into this fall with our personnel and everybody being on the same page.
Max, this year the defense needs to kind of maybe step up a little bit more and carry this team a bit more. Last year you had that offense putting up all those record numbers, and the defense kind of was up and down at different times. This year the defense needs to really be that steady force that produces week in and week out, and then you hope the offense pulls their weight and does what needs to be done to win games.
Yeah, as a defensive-minded player, that's always been my mindset, that the defense needs to do everything they can, but this year especially with the talent we have coming back, and we know that we're going to have a fairly young offensive line. So the defense is definitely going to have to take a bigger role and do everything we can to eliminate some of those mistakes that put us behind the 8 ball in some of those games.
Coach talked a lot about eliminating the explosive plays. What are the things you as a defender, individually, different people on the defense can do to keep that from happening? Is that all just really focus on assignment, or are there some other physical things that affects too?
Mostly it's focus on your assignment and communication out on the field, making sure that myself as a leader make it clear what checks need to be made and what defense we want to be in certain situations, so that there's no blown coverages or missed assignments in the run game.
Were there things that the defense targeted as maybe weaknesses or things that you needed to work on coming out of spring that you put in work in the summer that you've seen improve?
Yeah, during the summer we've had a really successful 7-on-7 weekly, or a couple times a week we get together, and we've been working on our pass defense a lot and some of our blitz packages amongst the players, and that's something that we really want to shore up for those 3rd down situations to get off the field.
I mean, obviously you lose Shaq, and he was a defensive player of the year, but with all the experience you have back at linebacker, do you not feel you can be just as good, if not better, at the linebacking core this year without him than you were with him?
It's hard to say that we'll be better because he was such a great player, but I'm confident that we'll be a very good linebacking core.
Max, how important, you talk about the blitz and all that to help with 3rd down defense, pass defense, etc. How important is it for those front 3 guys to be able to get a little bit more pressure on their own? I mean, last year you had a front 3 that was really good against the run, but they didn't get a whole lot of sacks, a whole lot of hurries. How important is it that they kind of maybe step up a little bit in that area to take some of the pressure off the linebackers so that you guys don't have to blitz so many guys and can stay back in coverage more?
Yeah, that'd be really nice if we were able to get some, so you're just saying out of our 4-man rush opposed to blitzing. Yeah, that's something that our defense is evolving to, and I think that'll help our back end a little more if we get some more linebackers into coverage and aren't having to do so much all-out blitzing.
Do you get the sense that you've got the guys there that can do that?
Yeah.
When you look at Joe Paula, Terry Jackson, guys like that.
Yeah, you look at our defensive line, they're very athletic, so I think they can do a lot in the pass rush game.
I mean, if you look at it, the defense gave up 31 touchdown passes last year, and a lot of the blame goes on the secondary. As a linebacker, how much it really is on their onus, and how much can the front 7 do to help them out?
Oh, well, it's absolutely the whole defense. Never, ever has it been one guy or this guy did this. It's always all of us working together. So if one guy has a bad play, well, it's my fault because I didn't get enough pressure on the quarterback. So we really like to take responsibility on each other as a whole defense, so we never put the blame on anybody like that.
Is it hard for you as a defender? You know they're taking the blame, but maybe it's not really Trent's fault. It wasn't Bernard's fault.
Mm-hmm.
How hard is that for you, and how hard does that make a defense kind of work together to eliminate that?
I think in the past that might have been an issue that we've had, but I think that we've got some leaders on our defense that we're able to, we know what's going on and we know what we need to fix, and kind of have your eyes closed what the outside people are saying. So internally, we know what we need to do better.
On a personal level, are you more comfortable heading into this season? Just that you kind of established yourself as a key cog in this defense, not that getting complacent, but just more comfortable you're going to be able to do a lot of big things this year?
Yeah, I think that just comes with age and experience. Definitely feeling comfortable in our scheme and my role in the defense and what's expected of me. I'm really excited about this fall. I expect great things from our defense. We should have a great year, so I'm really excited.
Max, last year you were the guy him through this period so that he's ready to go when the season rolls around? Because you went through it a year ago.
Yeah, Steve-O's a smart player, and he's been around a while, so I don't think the scheme stuff will be a big issue for him. Mostly for him, it's just getting in football shape and getting in the right mindset, which I have no doubt at our coaching staff and that he'll be able to take it upon himself and be ready. But if I were to give him some advice, it'd just be in there as much as you can in the training room, making sure you're ready to go for that first game.
Is it a little hard, though, when you're not able to get all the physical contact? Because that's a lot of what fall camp's about. I mean, you've been doing this other stuff, summer, et cetera. This is when you put on the pads and start hitting people, and to have to maybe miss out on some of that, how much harder is it to get yourself ready for that first game?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult, but at the same time, it is what it is. So like, you're more worried about being healthy for the first game. So last fall, I was coming off that knee surgery, and I was more worried about being able to be on the field for that first game than I was any of the other stuff. So it's kind of in the back of your mind, but
You're all through the program has evolved over your time here, but so your perspective to be different anyway, but what's your feeling about the imprint that Coach McElwain has on the program now as opposed to when you came in?
Coach Mac's done a great job of bringing this team together and making sure that everybody knows their part and everybody is well respected amongst each other, amongst us as peers. Our locker room is a lot closer, and everybody just gets along a lot better, and there's just a belief in each other.
McElwain said that he was going to have to rely a lot more on Garrett in the pass game, obviously losing Capri, losing Donnell. Are you worried about fatigue at all without, such a huge run game to eat up some of the clock that you guys will be out on the field a lot more?
Honestly, last year was such a blessing to be able to have that running game, and there were games where we would not necessarily feel rested, but always full energy and full go. And we've done a great job this summer in our conditioning program, and we're always ready to push ourselves harder. So as a defense, our mindset is we'll be on the field as much as they need us to be.
If you guys in the program talk, obviously the last 2 years you finished strong, but the start of the season hasn't always been, lightning fast. You guys talked about that approach, having to start the season off with more success a little bit quicker than the past 2 seasons?
Yeah, that's definitely something that we need to change because hindsight's obviously 2020, but last year could have been a lot different if we wouldn't have let some of those early games slip away. So the focus will just have to be there a little bit earlier from a player's standpoint to be ready for those first couple games to start fast.
Did you see any of that kind of mindset play out during summer workouts?
Yeah, absolutely. Guys were out there attacking these workouts in a way that I haven't seen since I've been here. Anyone else?
No, I'm good. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about, I guess Jim mentioned an urgency, getting off to a quick start this year, which the team hadn't been able to do the past 2 years. Do you sense that around this program, and have you seen it during summer workouts?
Sense that we have a newfound sense of urgency?
Yeah, especially considering your first 2 games are CU and Boise.
Definitely. One of the things that I've seen that's changed over the course of this summer is guys have more of a desire to finish every rep, desire to be first. When we go outside and run, it's a race to see who gets in the front of the line. Nobody really wants to be in the back because we know early in the season we dropped a lot of games. There was mistakes we made. It was nothing that the other team did. We had costly turnovers. We had missed assignments, and it gave up touchdowns, and it hurt us early on. But that was something we were able to correct. And going into the offseason, we made it a point to eliminate those mistakes.
Does it give you a little bit more juice when you look at those first 2 games on your schedule?
It does, because we know where we want to be as a team. We know what kind of talent we have in the locker room, and those first 2 games are a chance to show everyone else what we see.
Bernard, a lot's been made of the pass defense and the troubles you guys have had. You've got a group of players now that most of you have been together for a couple of years. What are the things you guys have to do to just be a far more effective pass defense this season?
It just goes back to the basics of football, communication. Communication is a big part of the game, whether offense or defense or special teams. So that's just something we have to do on a regular basis is communicate. And this summer, that's something we've been working on as a unit. We will watch film together, make calls together and adjustments, and just put ourselves in game-like situations from the film room. So that can only translate to good things on the field.
Do you feel like it got a lot better over the summer?
I do. We know as a secondary that we struggled, and we knew we were capable of playing much up to a higher standard. And so that's something that we want to set the bar for, and not just for us, but for our team, because no one wants to be the weak link on the team, and we're only as good as our weakest link.
How do you feel the competition's been with some of the younger players coming up, pushing the more established veterans like yourself?
The thing I like most about the upcoming freshmen are they're hungry. They come in, they ask questions when we watch film. They ask us to stay afterwards. They want to learn the playbook, and none of them are really nervous to take those reps. So when we go to our 7-on-7 events or anything, and it's their turn to go, everyone's racing to get out there. So they're definitely coming in with an attitude of they want to compete, and that can only make us better.
What's it like having so many new guys come in? I mean, you've got almost double the usual amount of new players coming into the secondary positions that you're having to work with this summer and now as you go into fall camp. What's that been like with that big a group and the competition among people?
It's a good adjustment. You know, something we always had were injuries in the secondary, and so just to know we have depth back there is a good thing. And then at the same time, to have someone pushing for our spots just makes the competition better, and it works on consistency. And so that just dates back to the communicating things. And so if you don't communicate the right way, there's someone underneath you who is communicating better. There's a chance you can lose your spot.
So you feel that pressure a little bit more maybe than in past years?
Not necessarily pressure, just comfortability. So I'm much more comfortable, and just knowing that there's people behind that when I do leave the program, that'll be ready to go. It's a good feeling.
Any of those guys stick out in particular that might make a earlier impact?
I like DeMontre Taylor and Preston Hodges a lot. Preston's a guy I kind of know. I hosted him on this recruiting trip. But those are the two guys who are constantly just texting Trent Matthews or I, asking about plays. They grab KP when we're in 7-on-7 and DeAndre, and they just ask about adjustments and calls. So they're not just trying to understand the basics of the playbook. They want to understand it from the point of view of the eyes of a vet.
For those of you that are returning starters, do you feel comfortable that you've got your spots? Or because of the way last season went, do you feel like you have to go through camp? You each have to earn it. You do. Trent does.
Well, I never feel comfortable with anything when it comes to football, because once you're comfortable, that means you're complacent. And I feel like when you have complacency, the only way to go is down. So we're definitely not comfortable where we're at. Do we have confidence in our game and our abilities? Yes. But that's not to say that the guys coming in don't have the same confidence. So it's just a competition. Nobody's guaranteed anything. If you want it, you have to go get it.
As you head into the season, do you feel, in the secondary as a whole, do you feel like there's a spotlight on you guys to prove what you guys are truly capable of as opposed to what happened last year?
I feel like there's a spotlight on everyone. Even though we had a decent season last year, there's still a lot of question marks, obviously. And I feel like people still doubt us as a team, and that's something that we feel like the spotlight is just on as a unit, not just a secondary.
But do you guys, is there a sense for the secondary that you've got some pride that you need to defend a little bit?
If it is, it's just internal. It's just the secondary just feeling that way. The team still has faith in us, and our abilities. Our coaching staff still has faith in our abilities. So if it is, it's a personal challenge within us just to gel together and show the world what we have.
Now, obviously, you guys worked on spring on some things that you thought were deficiencies. What did you come out of spring, and what did you guys focus on as a group in the summer? You still wanted to improve areas where you thought you could still get better.
I might sound like a broken record, but again, just communication. I can't stress how important that is, pre-snap, post-snap, and then even on the sideline during the offensive drive. So communication was one of the things we focused on a lot. We also just focused on becoming comfortable with each other, being able to play right corner and left corner, playing with Trent Matthews compared to Kevin Pierre-Louis. So just becoming comfortable with each other and being able to see the defense as a whole. So just knowing who's dropping where and everything.
Do you point back at most of the breakdowns last year? Do you point that back to communication as being the primary issue as to what led to some of the problems?
Oh, by far, hands down. No, it's all communication and missed assignments. And as far as guys being where they were supposed to be, had the communication been there, the plays would never happen and we wouldn't have this conversation.
So you kind of feel like the physical pieces are there. If you guys improve mentally, the secondary will see you
Absolutely.
make great gains.
Absolutely. The game's about 90% mental anyway, so the communication, like I've been saying, is a very important piece of the game. And we've worked on that all spring, all summer, and we know what we're capable of.
Are you guys better physically too?
I mean, do you feel like, a couple years in the program and with Coach Kent and things like that, are you all better physically than you were a year ago, than you were 2 years ago as a secondary?
I do. I know as a unit, secondary, we tend to work out a lot. In the weight room, we come up here on weekends, and some of the guys get together, and we've been working. and just to see some of the stuff that you don't normally see on the field happen. Guys are moving quicker. They're starting to understand their bodies, and guys are gaining weight. We're definitely a better team physically.
Would you say for secondary, what you guys did in the summertime and will do in the fall in the meeting rooms is almost as important or more important than what you guys are doing on the field?
Yes, the meeting room is just as important as being on the game field, because you have a chance to see your opponent, and you have a chance to figure out things, keys and assignments and breaks down stuff that slow the game down for you, and that can only help when you're just trying to adjust to communicating.
This year, the NCAA passed a new rule that allows schools to offer student athletes more meals or snacks. Do you know if any changes are going to come this fall with more snacks or meals or accessibility?
I don't. Really, we're just focused on playing in the season. I've heard of that. The rule has been implemented. I know CSU is looking into it, but us as players, we really don't pay any attention to that. I mean, look at me. I'm not going to turn down a free meal. So if there's food coming, then it'll come, but we're not really focused on it.
Bernard, you're one of the guys more active on social media than a lot of your teammates. What about social media is important to you? Is it creating that bond with the fans? Or?
It connects myself with the fans. It keeps me humble. It's a chance to always remind myself of something my mom always taught me, that someone's always watching you. And so when they reach out to me, it just lets me know that I'm fulfilling my life goal dream of changing someone's life. And I think it's important that using it in the right way to connect our team to our fans, because they really don't know what goes on behind the scenes. They really see us on Saturdays, and so it's only a brief period of time where they get to know you. So, but now we can go down to Denver. Been watching Capri and Shaq Barrett, and guys are coming up to us and we follow you on Twitter. So, I mean, it's a great thing to see, and it's just something to keep me humble.
What should the expectations for this program be for the season ahead?
Settle for nothing less. We were a better team than we were last year. We just have to continue making strides and turning the program around. Coach Mack has done a great job with that, and so have the guys in the locker room. Last year's seniors, what people don't understand is the best thing they did was off the field, and that was in terms of preparing this year's team. So Weston, Jared Beard, Brandon Haynes, those guys did a great job with the O-line, and I'm really excited to step on the field with them.
Garrett said that obviously last year the dream was getting that bowl game, getting that win. Said that this year the dream is conference title. I mean, subscribe to that theory?
Yes, we always set out to win every game we can, but there's those games that the CUs, the Wyoming's, the Air Force, the bowl games, the conference titles. We almost obtained every trophy last year, and we know we fell short of 2 trophies. So this year we want to have 5 trophies in Fort Collins.
Anything else from Bernard? All right, thanks.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Bernard.
Yes, sir.